of Nain's Shorts. Now, when it comes to training, we have very different ways of doing so. We can train the mind, we can train the body, we can train techniques, we can train concepts and ideas. Everyone has their own way of going about doing so. And the only thing we always ask is, what is the benefit? What do you gain from it? What do you lose? What other ways can we go about approaching the process? And recently we were having a conversation about a lesson. It was like almost 2 years ago. And something was brought to the attention of one of our friends, and they made comment on, okay, so what's the next piece of it? What's the counter? So we started conversing about what that actually means and why we go about doing things the way that we do. And before I explain to you what we actually do, Rick, could you mind stepping in? We'll demonstrate what that lesson was, and then the next step after that. So this is my not so lovely assistant. Rico, say hi to people.
Hi, people.
All right, so first of all, the counter idea, right? He gives me an angle 1 and I do this. Now, at this distance, all I'm doing is keeping the stick from hitting me. So it really isn't a counter. I'm not doing anything against him, just by simple idea of definition of what a counter should be. Now he strikes again. I step in this time and I catch underneath, and my first move is to bring this down, hit him many times, whatever I do after this is irrelevant, but the point is to get this torque on his arm so then I get control over what he's doing. So now it's a counter to his actual strike. I'm doing something proactively to keep him from doing it again. But what about the counter to this counter? What would that look like? So he strikes again, I come in, all of a sudden he does what he needs to stop everything that I could possibly do from this position. And it's that simple.
Big smile.
Now, why does that work? Well, if I'm trying to get this right here and take care of his arm and do all this, how does he keep himself from doing so? Well, he just steps in. He essentially removed everything that I could possibly do. I can't really move my arm. Sure, I can do this, but he has a free hand. He hasn't even used it yet. So of course, anything that he can think of to do with that empty hand, he's going to be able to do. So from here, all of a sudden, and I'm dead. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Now, give you a bit more backstory on this particular lesson, or less about the specific lesson and more about the way that Rico has actually taught me throughout the years, because as the class goes by, and he does this with multiple students, he gets us to understand, to think about, to perform certain things physically, like this first counter, proficiently enough where we feel confident, where we feel we're over the moon, we're like, oh my God, we learned something new, this is so very cool. And once he sees that peak enjoyment and just pride of being able to do something, without telling us, he will go ahead and destroy it. Like literally, what we just showed right now as a reference point, but he does it in real time, he does it in a real lesson, and what used to be a really good high becomes a very demoralizing low. Now that's his way of teaching, but it's worked for him, and it's worked for us, and it's worked for the way that I process information. And I've never questioned it before. I've never really wondered beyond why we do that. I just understand why we do that, and I reap the benefits from it. But now I'm wondering, do other systems do this? Do other schools go about destroying the very techniques that you just learned or became proficient in that same time? And before we even get to that, because I honestly don't have an answer for you, I'm more asking that openly to everyone else, I want to understand, or I want to share with you, what are some of the benefits that I believe come from doing this to a student. Now, For those of you who are in the martial arts world, you know for a fact there are egos that are a little overblown and oftentimes get in the way of the learning process and definitely get in the way of amicable interactions. We get to a certain level, some people get to a certain rank, and all of a sudden, well, you know what I'm talking about, because it becomes a different story, it becomes a different human being to deal with when there's that title and this, oh, I'm so good at that. But even before we get to that point, it starts building up when we're students, where we think we are so good at what we do because in the class, everything that we learned it well, and we do it so sharply that it works against every one of our students or fellow classmates. But we don't know if it works outside of that. We never question whether or not, and that ego is unchecked, that pride is not tested. And this process, at least for me, has continuously checked my pride and my ego to make sure that, hey, yeah, you got this down and it works fairly well against somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, against a fellow student. But what about somebody who does? What if the person you're fighting is actually pretty good at what they do? And more than likely, even better than you at what you do. How would you then respond to that? And I believe that this process for me has really given me that idea to think about both sides of the fight, not just what I'm going to do. And I've seen other techniques, I've seen other schools and arts, and a lot of it, because of the limited amount of time, we only see the one side. We only see you countering that punch, you as the person doing the technique to the other person. And sure, you switch between the two, but it's still off that initial first strike. There's never a counter to it. That person throws a strike, you're going to do your technique, and then they counter you back. I've seen it while I've sparred with other instructors when we do just empty hand stuff and then say, hey, come at me. I've seen it there, but I haven't seen it in the teaching process itself. It's always the one person, the one side, doing the entire technique, and then maybe you switch or another uke steps in, but we don't talk about the counter, or at least I haven't seen it. And again, the benefits behind that, one, I believe the ego definitely helps in that. Also, the thinking of the other side of the fight, of understanding, hey, this person is also trying to fight you, and if they know something, hey, they're going to do whatever they possibly can, which brings us to the philosophy that I was taught early on, that always assume that your opponent is much better than you until it's proven otherwise. Because you should be cautious going into a situation like that, and I believe that not just the verbiage, the ideas that are taught to us, are good, but also throughout the process, throughout the teaching process, it should be reinforced. And this particular way, at least the way Rico does it, reinforces that idea. Yes, you learned something good. Yes, you got good at this, but don't become complacent that it's everything, that it's going to work every single time. And if your mind isn't geared to understand, hey, you have to do or change gears if it doesn't work, or when it doesn't work. And this definitely reinforces that idea to continuously think through the problem and also expand what else you can take from that technique. Because what does it do when you learn a technique, you learn all the moves, you know how to do it well, you know how to adapt to different sizes, to different speeds of the different classmates that you have, but then all of a sudden one of them counters you. So what do you do then? Do you simply restart? Do you go back to the center of the mat and then try again? Or do you think through the problem and try to find different avenues? All of a sudden you have a platform of taking this one technique that you learned and figure out different ways that you can use it. Take it to different heights and different levels, take it to different angles, because now you actually have to. So not only are you learning how to adapt, you're learning how to think through the problem itself. Again, this is my opinion on what I think. These are some of the benefits. And I'm sorry, my mind just went blank a little bit. Let me get a drink of coffee. Because it is early in the morning, at least for me. and I'm not anywhere near caffeinated enough to think logically, but again, I'm thinking through the problem that is right now in my mind. And it has helped. Don't get me wrong, there are some downsides to it in the sense that if somebody has a fragile ego, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when your instructor teaches you something and then all of a sudden, before the class ends, they completely destroy it. Because as good as you felt for being able to understand it and perform something, yeah, it does hurt inside. I'll be the first to tell you, it took a while for me not to feel as bad as, right now, I don't really feel bad at all. It's like just a great lesson. But at some point, it really did hurt my pride. So it definitely tempered that for me and is a huge benefit to my growth being able to do so. Some people might not be able to recover from that. Rico himself has told me, I'm actually surprised you kept coming back because there were some days where I know I hurt your ego. But I'm stubborn that way, I guess. I don't know. And it might not be for everybody. It might not work for every particular student. But is it something that we should consider more of? Not necessarily the way Rico goes about doing it, but just the idea of getting into the mindset of, hey, if this doesn't work, if they counter you, well, first of all, can you think of the counter if somebody does that technique to you? Have you figured that out? And if you haven't, how would you go about doing so? Getting students on that mindset of saying, hey, somebody might be better than you, or what if somebody is doing this to you? How would you get out of it? That's definitely another benefit that you can bring from having these kind of conversations or adding this to your teaching curriculum. How do you get out of the very technique that you spent all this time perfecting or getting really, really good at? And if you can't think of a way, well, then what other things would you be missing to be able to accomplish that? And again, it just opens up the door for so many other possibilities, so many other avenues and different growths, different ideas that then you can start implementing into your art. Again, it's about the individual, right? So it's you who are going to benefit from it, and what you take away from that is going to be the amount of effort that you put into it. And if all your effort is into perfecting the moves that you were taught, awesome, that's great. And if that serves every purpose that you have for learning martial arts, by all means, keep doing so. You're doing awesome. For me, I question everything. So this really has been beneficial in that now I have that platform to wonder, what if? What if somebody's doing this to me? What if somebody counters me while I'm trying to do this technique? And it has kept my mind going well enough where 11 years later, there's still new stuff to discover, new ideas to implement, and new concepts to start developing and incorporating into what I already know. Do I have another 11 years with this man? I don't know. So far, I've been trying to kill him for the last 6, and he won't die. But maybe the next 6 years is going to be, my luck will be better. But still, I'm learning stuff, I'm getting new ideas, and I'm taking these concepts to other arts, to Kaju Kempo. Recently I've started, like our last episode, wondering how do I blend these ideas together. And now with this concept being brought up, which was again 2 years ago, but now it becomes even more relevant because of all the information I've accumulated since then. How do I take my Kaju and start a simple question? How would I counter the technique that I just did onto my uke? And would it be effective? Would I still end up getting hurt? And how do I do it better next time around if that is the case? And back and forth until I keep developing more and more ideas that I can incorporate, not just into Kaju, but also back into FMA as one feeds the other. It's just me. Doesn't matter what the art is, I'm the one that's performing it, so it's the same mind, same body, and I should be able to incorporate all this stuff together. Am I able to do so right now? No, but that's why we keep on training, and that's why we keep on doing these videos, so we can start thinking of different ways to go about doing it and being more effective with the results. So, do you guys counter your counters? Do you guys counter your punch arts, your grab arts, your pinions, your katas, and figure out what to do against it if somebody more proficient than you is performing those techniques on your punch? Just a thought. Please feel free to comment and share any ideas that you have, because we're always willing to learn, always willing to listen to advice and other instructions from you guys. So thank you very much for that. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please go ahead and do so to this video. Share with your friends, and thank you for joining us. Till the next one, as usual, 3, 2, 1, cut!